Lawyer Inibehe Effiong now joins us in the studio to discuss the travels of Justice Walter Onnoghen. Thank you for joining us on the news tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Some consider this to be quite unprecedented to have the CJN sacked, banned from public office for 10 years. But on the other hand, they say it's been a long time we saw a conviction at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Do you consider this a plus for the anti-corruption fight?
It is neither here nor there, depending on what perspective one is viewing this development. For those who are persuaded that this is a demonstration of the administration's fight against corruption, they can comfortably say, well, this is a plus. This is a landmark achievement. But on the other hand, there are people who say, don't be too hasty, that while this has shown that there is corruption in the bench, there is corruption in the judiciary, there is corruption in the country, the manner in which this trial has been conducted, the manner that the proceedings went, defeats the very principle of fighting corruption. In which case, corrupt means corrupt procedures were deployed in an effort to fight corruption. So it depends on what angle one is looking at it.
Help us understand the CCT judgment. Does this mean that he's going to also not have access to his retirement benefits?
By the reason of the judgment, the conviction of the CJN, the implication is that he has been removed from office. As a matter of fact, this is worse than mere dismissal. When a judicial officer ceases to hold office as a judicial officer by reason of conviction, it damnifies that judicial officer even more than dismissal by the President and the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
There appears to be 3 offerings before the President right now. Of course, the CCT verdict. There is the recommendation of the NJC that has not been made public. There's also the rumored resignation of the former CJN. What way forward for the executive at this time?
Well, let me make it clear. First, I have read the notice of appeal filed by Justice Onnoghen. It is what I'm holding. I've read the 16 grounds of appeal. And in all sincerity, some of the grounds of appeal are quite germane in law. There are issues that should be tested. There are issues of fundamental jurisprudential importance that should be tested up to the Supreme Court of Nigeria for us to know what the position of the law is. And let me also say that the decision of the tribunal on the question of jurisdiction, before I get to your question, that the tribunal assumed jurisdiction because Justice Onnoghen was arraigned as a public officer and not as a judicial officer, I find that very strange and funny to me, with the greatest respect to the tribunal.
But does an appeal mean an execution or a stay of execution on the CCT judgment?
No, it is not a stay, it is automatic. But let me go to your question. I was saying that because in this document I'm holding, it contains the ruling of the same tribunal given on the 9th of January 2018 in the case of Sylvester Nwuta and Federal Republic of Nigeria, where the same tribunal said that one is a public officer because he's a judicial officer. It is a judicial officer that takes precedence over being a public officer. It was that reasoning that made the court to decline jurisdiction. So since the tribunal has now overruled itself, has now admitted that it was wrong, one wonders what motivated the ruling in this case and whether Justice Nwuta will be arraigned. But to your question, the president does not have power to reject resignation. I think that is where the public is being misled. By virtue of section 306 of the Constitution, the moment resignation letter or notice is received by the president, who is the appointer subject to confirmation by the Senate, it takes effect automatically. It does not require the sanction. It does not require the approval of the president. Once the appointing authority is in receipt of that letter, and the receipt here is not by handing it personally by hand to President Muhammadu Buhari, it is the office. That is why when the president was on vacation, the acting president at that time, Osibanjo, was able to appoint Justice Onnoghen.
So you're saying that even the Justice Onnoghen has resigned, then the idea of sacking him by the tribunal is nullified?
No, the tribunal had to sack, with the greatest respect to the tribunal, the tribunal had to sack Justice Onnoghen to justify the earlier order it had made, dismissing or purportedly suspending the then CJN from office. Supposing Justice Onnoghen has been discharged and acquitted today, what impression will it give? What I'm saying is that the president does not have a discretion to say, I am not accepting resignation. But the other question is, was the tribunal seized of the question of resignation was the resignation of the CJN Onnoghen brought before the tribunal. I am not aware of that. Did we expect the tribunal to take judicial notice of same? I do not think so. However, it is on record that the CJN had resigned. If the appellate court find a different position on that, the question is, can the tribunal itself try somebody who has ceased to be a public officer?
Do you expect the decision of this tribunal to sanitize the judiciary and make judicial officers indeed be on their toes?
My expectation is that Nigerian judges will look at what has happened and be sober, because we have a problem of corruption in the judiciary. I am one of those Nigerians and one of those lawyers in this country who believe that a corrupt judge is worse than an armed robber. So when you have the #1 judicial officer, the head of an arm of government, being accused of this kind of matter, that is looking at the other side of it. It is a matter that we should look at. And we are hoping that judges will look at this, judges will learn lessons, judges will begin to abide by the law. But on the whole, I am not really comfortable with the manner the federal government went about this.
I get your point precisely. There appears to still be more that will be unfolded in time as we see this case approach the appeal court and perhaps subsequently the Supreme Court. Inibehe, Effiong, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the news tonight.
Thank you for having me.